Welcome into On Texas Football, Talking Ball, Special Edition. Welcome home. Rod B. and Jerry Hamilton, Duane Akina, the new defensive back secondary coach for the University of Texas. Rod B., you played for Coach Akina at the University of Texas. Jerry, you and I have long followed his career, both at Arizona, Texas, and even out at Stanford when he was there. He's got 5 guys in the league right now that played for him or he recruited to Stanford. Now he's at Arizona. They all of a sudden have 2 or 3 all Pac-12, now all Big 12 type of guys. Rod B., I'm gonna open it up to you, but welcome home, Duane Akina. What do you have to say, man?
I'm excited. I mean, every time there's a DB coaching vacancy on the 40 acres of any kind, I think I've brought up Coach Akina, so I'm finally right. But I've been, like I said, I've brought it up all the time. I'm just glad to have him back. He's talking about, I mean, I think he's one of the best DB coaches still, at the college or the pro level. The resume speaks for itself. We'll get into kind of the schematics and X's and O's and what he's going to bring to the table and what he may be coaching and all that kind of stuff. But you're talking about a guy that taught me, I'm talking about just my personal experience. He just taught me about the game conceptually, and he taught the game that way. And, really turned me into, I call it a football investigator. He turned me into a football investigator, taught me that everything the offense presents to you, yes, it is something that it's got a purpose for the offense, but also it could be a clue for the defense. We're talking about alignment, whether you're talking about, personnel groupings, whether you're talking about the players themselves, the down, the distance, all those types of things, formation. And after he taught me the game, I mean, it was eye-opening. I mean, and to this day, I try to teach the game, and I try to analyze the game based on the way I was taught by Coach Akina. And I had good coaches before Coach Akina, but nobody taught me the game. Nobody made me a student of the game or transformed me to being a student of the game like Coach Akina, and taught me about, like I said, conceptually what the intent of the offense, what the motive of the offense, what they're trying to achieve. All right, with this personnel, with this formation, with this. And like I said, it really, I wouldn't be an NFL player. I wouldn't have been an NFL player without him. I don't know if I would have been able to take my game to the next level. So I do think Coach Akina was the right hire. I think it's a splash hire in my opinion too, because it's a guy that's got a lot of skins on the wall and is a proven commodity. So I think it's a win-win. I mean, I don't know if you could have done better unless you're going out to get, Nick Saban or Gary Patterson to coach your secondary. And, maybe that could have been better, but I think it's a home run hire in my opinion.
Jerry, one of the things that I commented on, and I'd like your feedback. I don't know who else in college football could have coached as many first-round picks as a DB or draft picks as a whole in DB land than Duane Akina. Maybe Corey Raymond at LSU, maybe Kerry Combs up at Ohio State, but nobody else. I mean, he's one of those guys that can lend some credence, some skins on the wall when it comes to recruiting category. What do you think?
Yeah, he's one of the rare coaches that when he comes back home, and we call it home in Texas for him, Rod, I don't think there's a player that played for him that won't say amazingly positive things. And that's not always the case, by the way. That's the reason I brought that up. That's not always the case. But I think starting with Rod, Quentin Jammer, all those guys all the way down, I think they're all going to have great things to say about this hire. Cedric Griffin, Terrell Brown, all the guys that played for Duane Akina were developed by Duane Akina. I think I think that everybody's going to be universally excited. And again, that's not always the case. And look, it started before he got all y'all at Texas. Now, he had Chris McAllister, Bobby, who back in the day said was the best he ever coached. I don't know if he's still now, but his resume is it's pretty extensive now.
Yeah, no, he's had some guys through the years. You mentioned Chris McAllister, a cornerback. Darrell Lewis won the Thorpe for him at Arizona under when it was Desert Storm Desert Storm defense. Yeah. Excuse me on that one. But my point on all of this is that I'm excited for him coming back to Austin after earlier in the day we find out Terry Joseph, who was preliminarily at least the safeties coach after being moved from corners to safeties is taking the New Orleans Saints job. So that's what, if you're just now joining us and turning on your screen or your podcast and listening, whatever you are, that's what precipitated this move by Duane Akina. Is Terry Joseph took a job this morning with the New Orleans Saints. So good stuff there, I think.
Bobby, can I add? We talked about it on our live stream when Terry Joseph left for the Saints. We did not think it would take long for Sark to fill this spot. He's been preparing for this. He had been shuffling his entire secondary, right? I mean, so people, we said this isn't going to be like the running back search. There was no way it was going to go on that long, especially with spring practice. But when you're shuffling your secondary like so, you already have a plan. And I think you saw that plan play out.
I agree. I completely agree. We'll get to y'all's questions, topics, comments, etc., and talk more about Duane Akina and his return to the 40 acres. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, another 40 acre special. This is special thanks to Dr. Brett Robin, the former Longhorn running back at Austin Orthopedic Institute, for sponsoring Monday night's Talkin' Ball on Texas football. Dr. Robin knows what it takes to stay in the game. He's been there, done that, and he's here for athletes of all ages. Even if you're not an athlete anymore, he's still here for you. He specializes in musculoskeletal health. He treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacement. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000, and get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Rod B with the ultimate endorsement of Brett Robin, by the way. Quote, he's the only former teammate I'd let cut on me.
No doubt. I agree with that. I love those guys, but I remember Brett Robin being one of the smarter guns.
Wait. Here's the question, though. Is there another doctor from that team that Rod's like calling out saying he wouldn't let cut on him? Rod, is there anybody else?
Ooh, there's no way I played with another
Richard Walton. What is he nowadays?
Who?
Richard Walton.
Did you play with Richard Walton at all?
Was he on the team? That was before my time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I played with another guy that's a doctor. There's no way. I didn't know that already. There's no way. Dr. Brett Robin, he's the one, guys. Trust me. He's the one.
Good stuff. We were talking about Rod, about Duane Akina joining the staff. I have one other note, and Matt, I did not prep our producer, Matt, with this. Henry Melton, former Longhorn player, has undergone a traumatic injury, I think, or situation. He actually had open heart surgery earlier this week, or either yesterday or today. I'm trying to find that out right now. Matt, I retweeted or reposted a tweet so people can see this. If you remember, Henry played running back his first year at Texas, then ended up playing defensive line, not only at Texas, but then into the NFL, the Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys, etc. He has been having surgery. Please join us in wishing him well this year. Big ups to Henry. Grapevine product, right, Jerry? Out of Grapevine High School back in the day. But thank you to all of you guys, and please join us in wishing him well on his Twitter. I think it's at Henmel, just at Henmel, if you want to reach out to him. All right, back to the topic at hand, Duane Akina. We'll take some of your questions, talk a little bit about it. Jerry, go for it. Yeah,
I want to say something. So I just got a text from a really good defensive coordinator who may know Duane. And he said, please tell me you hired Akina. And I was like, yep. Yes, sir. Love it. Y'all guess who that's from.
Yep. Yeah. It made too much sense. It made too much sense, right? Connection to Johnny Nansen, his roots here in Austin. And I think, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think Sark now is realizing with this success, right? One of the prices of that success is everybody's gonna come poaching and taking your guys, right? It's a good problem to have, right? It's like somebody, people flirting with your wife. It's like, hey, your wife is hot. It's good, you know what I mean? But it's annoying. It's annoying. And I think he's looking for maybe another data point when he's doing these evaluations for replacements. Is somebody that may stick around a while. You talked about that, Bobby. Somebody that may be around a few years. I mean, not saying you want to, you don't want to stifle the growth and advancement of guys, but maybe somebody's looking to put some roots down and maybe settle down for a little while, let you catch your breath as a head coach before you have to replace multiple coaches every year. Right?
Somebody you can rely
on, right?
No, that's Akina's done that his entire life. I think he's been to 3 different places in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been at Texas, Arizona, and Stanford.
Yep.
I mean, 3 places. I mean, I can't tell you how many pro jobs he turned down back in the day. I mean, literally.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and so I feel like, that's a big piece of it, Rod. And Jerry, to your point, the negative people have put out there so far on the message board, by the way, is he's 78 years old.
68.
68, excuse me. He's 68 years old. And my response was, if you know Duane Akina, you'd actually call him 68 years young.
That's like 48 in Hawaii.
I'm serious. You do not call that. He's not an old guy. He's whatever he is, he's young because he's that kind of guy. He will recognize the facilities, Todd. He was sniffing around last year around this time too.
That's like 48 in Hawaiian years, man. 48 in Hawaii.
48 in Hawaiian years. I love it.
Yeah.
He's got a permanent tan. He's got the permanent.
He does have a permanent tan. Some coaches, they have a youthful kind of vigor about them. They just do. And he's one of those coaches. I know Pete Carroll's kind of like that. It was like Pete Carroll was 73, and they're like, "You got a head coaching job?" I said, "Yeah, but Pete Carroll ain't your normal 73. You gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta be around Pete Carroll and go, oh yeah, that ain't 73 like my grandpa's 73. That's a different kind of 73." And that's what it's honestly, we talked about this as a country with President Biden and President Trump. We had this conversation, and it was a different kind of old, like President Trump's, was he 78? Well, it was President Trump. How old is he?
I don't know. We don't talk politics on this show, dude.
No, I know. My point is, it was a different type of vibe and energy with his 70-something years old than it was with. So that my point is, there's a different vibe. We got to look at everybody a little bit differently. 68 is really old for some people. For Coach Akina, trust me, just be around for 5 minutes and you'll go, oh yeah, that's 68, kind of like 50, 55.
Because you'll hear him over everybody else at practice, I guarantee you.
By the way, he was out on the recruiting trail in January, working as hard as any of the guys. He had all the schools. Donovan Webb, who will be a safety target at Texas, who's going to set up an official visit. He was out and about, seeing a lot of guys in January. So in Texas and around Cali and all those areas, man. So recruiting hasn't slowed down for Akina.
Don't forget, I think he signed Cedric Griffin's son too, right? Swade, didn't he? I know that's got to be a hard call that he has to make to Cedric, let him know that he's not going to be coaching his son. I think he was making calls to his players at Arizona, and as well as the recruits to that he brought in this afternoon and early evening when the news broke that Duane Akina is the next safeties coach at the University of Texas. All right, let's take some questions if you guys are ready. Rod, Jerry, you guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get it going. Does Coach Akina specialize in coaching man-to-man? A super chat. Ben, I'll let Rod start us off because that was the pregame warm-up that Rod wanted to talk about. Go for it, Rod.
Yes, no doubt. I mean, first, Coach Akina can coach any coverage. I mean, he's been coaching for 45 years or something. I mean, something like that. I'm not joking. Like, it's like 40 plus years. But he actually, in my time, all we specialized in was press man. And I played with Quentin Jammer, I played with Nathan Basher. We specialize in playing a lot of press man coverage. So I know that he knows how to teach that. And even going back to 2024, when he was the defensive coordinator there at Arizona, I went and looked at their coverage matrix. And like, all right, they play some different coverages when Nansen left. They played cover one at a 85 plus percentile. So they were playing cover one as much as any team in the country, pretty much. Cover three was their other very popular coverage. So a lot of single high safeties, middle field close. But yes, he can teach man to man. And like I said, I went back and looked at Mark Orfe's time there at Rutgers. they were top 25. If you're looking at top 25 overall in coverage rate, in man-to-man coverage, and also in both years, by like 23 and 24. I looked at both of them, and they were top 25 in man coverage rate and played a lot of press man as well. And if you go look at Keanu Hudson, go look at his stops as well. He's teaching a lot of technique and man coverage, a lot of two-man. So I think ultimately they are, if they want to move to man-to-man coverage, which has been my theory, I think Coach Akina still fits that. He aligns with that evolution in the secondary. So I think it's going to be, and Coach Nansen and Coach Akina, I mean, I do think they see football along the same lines as well, which will help.
Question here from Frank DeCluet. How many DBs has he put in the league? 20 plus? Rod, I'll say this. I think there was a 10-year run that if you started at cornerback for the University of Texas, you played in the NFL. Like a 10-year run. If you started, you played in the NFL.
I believe
so. I don't know if it's 20. 15 at least, I would bet, if I went back and looked at every roster.
I think he's in the 20s. What are you talking about? That's in the league now or just been in the league?
I think
he's way more than he's above 20.
I mean, look, here's his from his Stanford days, guys. Before he talked about some of the Texas guys, Paulson Adebo from Mansfield High. He went in and won that recruitment over Texas, Notre Dame, and a couple others. And Adebo was a first-round pick, I think, out of Stanford. There was some
Justin Reed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going down the list. I mean, Carrington Bindum, Lufkin, Adrian Colbert flipped him from Baylor, right? When you start going down this list, I mean, and it goes to a couple of guys that messed up off the field that would have been NFL guys too. I'm telling you. But that list is even the guys. Rod can tell you about all the guys his era and shortly after that, but it hasn't stopped with him. I mean, Vaqueros, right? I mean, Kenny Vaccaro, I should say.
Andre Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long list, and it's continued on. It was at Arizona before Texas, then went to Stanford as well.
Shocky Brown, Curtis Brown.
Brown.
I feel like he'd be above 20 if I had to just ballpark. I will do the research on this. That's a good question. I'm gonna do the deep dive on that, but I bet he's above 20 at this point.
I bet it's 20 just at Texas is the bet.
He might be right.
I mean, guys like Adrian Phillips. I mean, you guys got to remember, Adrian Phillips was a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and Coach Akina told me Adrian Phillips, he was one of the first DBs that had played every position in the secondary for him. That played corner, dime, played nickel, played safety, free, strong, everything.
Ross.
Oh man. I could probably come up with a list right now, honestly, just right off the top of my head.
It's legit. And speaking of that, this is a great one from Whiplash. Thank you, Whiplash, for the super chat. What a great way for Coach Akina to feel his legacy at the University of Texas. He will feel the love from the fans and the support of his ex-players. I'm sure he's already talked to Michael Huff to welcome him to Austin. I think he's still in Tucson today, expected in Austin tomorrow is what I'm being told for Duane Akina. So if you see him walking by in the airport, make sure you say hello. He is a tall guy, for a little bit taller than you expect.
6'2", 6'3", right? He's pretty towering.
Yeah. He's not your typical 6 foot 5'11" DB coach, Rod.
No,
you know how those are. In all seriousness, thank you, Whiplash. We appreciate you for asking that. Justin Yarbrough, I have no doubt in Coach Akina's coaching talent. But what will his recruiting look like at 68 years young? Welcome home, coach. This is a good question. Jerry, he doesn't necessarily go on the road and recruit anymore. I mean, I'm not saying he will or won't. I don't have that information.
He was out in January at Arizona going everywhere, though.
But I agree, but you can only have 10 guys on the road now. Texas has Lyle and Clark. They promoted Keanu Hudson as well. How many got Chris Gilbert went on the road? They may put Brandon Harris on the road. PK came off the road a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What? So he was on the road, but maybe he needed to be at Arizona.
My bet with Akina is he still likes to see these guys in person.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Those old school guys don't change from the script, man, of how they evaluate players.
That sounds like him too. It does. I'm with you. That's a good one. Just a heads up. I got this from the Stanford website. So he's been in Arizona since then. They claim 41 DBs who played in the NFL. He's coached 3 Thorpe Award winners, 6 Thorpe finalists, and 41 DBs who played in the NFL, including 7 Pro Bowlers, 9 Super Bowl participants, and 12 All-Americans. So that's Stanford's a pretty smart place. They do their research. So I'm gonna trust Stanford.
Well, the problem is that
they're pretty good with
like 5 years old.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. He's probably at the 50s now. He's probably got 50 something. He probably got 50. Yeah.
He definitely had Saeed or Paulson Adebo, you guys that like that. So I love it. Good stuff there. I think that gives you an answer, Justin, though. Thank you very much. Will Akina oversee the secondary like Terry Joseph did? This is from Juan Garza. I don't know that yet. I don't have the details of exactly what he's been hired as. Texans has not made an official statement. It has been confirmed with me that Texas is hiring Duane Akina, though, on both sides of that. So that is done. He is a Texas Longhorn coach. I don't know what exactly he's going to be coaching. My thought is safeties. I don't know if he'll be the secondary overall coach. I just don't know how they're going to put it all together.
Hey, I got a little recruiting news I need to talk about. We just have a question here. And I've been waiting to get a response, and I just did. Samari Matthews, the 4-star corner out of Charlotte Huff, North Carolina, again, was just offered by Texas. And I think there's a really good chance June 13th through 15th, he will make an official visit to Texas, or that's going to be on the table. He has South Carolina, Florida State, Clemson as his 3 official visits locked in. Samari Matthews, whoever asked that famous coda, yes, very good. I think that's a kind of maybe the first offer by Orfe. We saw Lylan Clark come in and make an offer to an edge in North Atlanta. Now we see Mark Orfe offer Samari Matthews out of Charlotte Huff, and he has June 13th through 15th as an open OV date. He's got everything else scheduled around it. I think there's probably a pretty good chance that Texas can secure an official visit from one of the top corners in the country.
Samari Matthews. Maybe Matt can bring up that video for us a little bit later, if you don't mind, Matt. Samari Matthews. This is the fact that he's from North Carolina,
Charlotte area again.
Charlotte. That's the fit. Now, Rod, I've been covering Texas football for I don't know how long. Okay, 30 some odd years. I think that they have now times 5 the number of players ever they offered from the state of North Carolina in a single class. I literally don't remember anybody they've ever offered from the state of North Carolina, Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Samari Matthews here. But my point being, we talked about it a little bit this morning. Texas is going into North Carolina, not just Georgia and Florida. I've mentioned this. Chad Scott's from North Carolina, Jerry.
Yeah.
He's coached there. So they've got some ties now to a new area to be on the lookout. And now I think this is either the 5th or 6th offer in the Charlotte area alone, Jerry. Yeah. Not just the corner overall.
Yeah. Look, this is a kid who I think is a really, really good player. And I'm really happy that Texas offered this kid. And we talked about this. Look, there's a couple of positions with these new hires that I think the board is really going to shift and change. And corner, Jalen Lott, Jermaine Bishop from Willis are 2 studs in Texas. But the question has been at corner, where else is Texas going to go? They offered Jordan Edmonds out of Sprayberry in Marietta, Georgia, who's an absolute stud. And they tried R.J. Sermons, who I think is the best in the country, but he's committed to USC out of Rancho Cucamonga. But you knew 2 or 3 new offers were going to be coming, just like edge. I don't think they're done offering at edge. This is the first corner offer for Mark Orfe. And by the way, Mark Orfe will have a corner drafted this year for the 3rd straight year in a row out of Rutgers.
Are you serious? Really? 3rd straight year he'll have a corner drafted?
That's crazy.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Jerry. All right. Thank you so much for bringing that video up, Matt. And Jerry, thanks for breaking in there with that news as well. Jason Hablinski. Rod, my fear with man-to-man coverage is the mobile QB. It always killed Saban, and it's hurting Kirby Smart now. You're not wrong, Jason. And thankfully, I will say this. Pete Kwiatkowski coaches pretty good zone coverage. Texas had pretty good zone coverage the last couple of years. So
it's been great. They've been the best, arguably last year, they're the best pattern match coverage unit in the country. And when PK first got here, just real quick, we won't go over in deep. Thank you, Jason, for the super chat there. He described their defense, their coverage as vision quarters, vision thirds. What that basically means is traditional zone coverage. All right, basically kind of keeping the top over the defense, but you're basically playing zones. You're playing different areas of the field, and they started to switch. And he said this after the before the Alamo Bowl when they played Washington, with the help of Gary Patterson, to pattern a ton of pattern match. Like everything's pattern. Basically, Gary Patterson probably told him, dude, you can't play vision anymore, especially in the Big 12. Too many hybrid offenses. You got to go to pattern match. And they went to it, and they were actually decent at it, but they didn't have a pass rush to accompany it. Last year, they played mostly pattern match coverage. They were like 113th, I believe, in man coverage rate. So they didn't play a lot of straight up man coverage, but pattern match is basically when you match up and you end up man matching a guy in your zone. So it's a mix of zone and man. And they had the pressure combined with that. And then we all saw the result, right? One of the best defenses in the country. The next evolution. So I'm not saying you're going to go strictly man. No, you don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody, even in NFL, you can't do that. The offenses are way too sophisticated now, and receivers are way too freaky in terms of their athleticism. They're going to find a matchup advantage. So he just wants to mix in. You can't be 113th in the country in man coverage rate, though. You gotta be a little bit more balanced. As you play better quarterbacks late in the season, they were able to decipher, okay, they're just playing zone. They're just playing match zone. They ain't going to play no man. And I think when they start playing better quarterbacks late in the season, they want to be able to mix in more man coverage when you play better quarterbacks. Nick Saban, who is the greatest defensive mind in college football history, he's the one that said man coverage is the best coverage you can play in football, period. Man coverage. He said the problem is everybody doesn't have the dogs to do it. Everybody don't have the athletes to do it. Texas, one of the few schools and programs that does have the athletes. They can recruit the athletes to play man coverage. So I agree with you, Jason. You don't want to play, you don't want to be too man centric where everybody knows you're playing man all the time. The point of them now mixing in more man is so that they will be less predictable, because they became more predictable toward the end of the season because everybody knew they're not going to blitz. They're not going to play press, and they're not going to play man. Boom. I can give you a scouting report right now. They ain't going to blitz. They ain't going to play a lot of man, and they ain't going to press. Can you come up with an offense game plan? You got a quarterback. Yeah. And you want to mix in now more man coverage. So you're right. PK is smart. When you play against a mobile quarterback, which they will play multiple mobile quarterbacks, they won't have their backs to the quarterback as much. Or they'll have a freaky spy like Anthony Hill or Colin Simmons, and it won't matter.
I gotta say this real quick because it brought up one of my better memories sitting in DKR. Hey Rod, is it Chris Stockton a doctor now? The former kicker. You might be right.
You might be right.
I think he is right. And you remember this off the upright through to beat A&M. Ricky's Heisman year.
That's true.
That's Chris Stockton. It's been all up for him ever since.
He is that's correct. He is Texas Orthopedics foot and ankle surgeon.
Down in Houston, or is he in Austin? He's in Austin.
Yeah.
All right.
Ian Robin. There you go, guys. They got theirs in there. All right. Talk a little bit about Nansen and Akina. This one from Arnold Smithart. Talk a little bit about Nansen and Akina and what they did in the coverage when they coached together, please. Rod, you mentioned that a little bit earlier, but what did they do that you think they might replicate on the 40 or just in general?
Yeah, they and actually Nansen has done a lot, has influenced PK in a way where they've already utilized a lot of the exotic concepts that, we thought they would. That Arizona was probably the most exotic multiple defense in the country 2 years ago when Johnny Nansen was there. And I think Akina was just there as an analyst during that time. And they played more single high safety. That's middle field close. That's just one deep safety. They played more than anybody else in the country. I mean, they were over 80% with a single high. Played more cover 3. They're near 60% than anybody else in the country. And they played a lot of man coverage too, but the exotic looks, this is maybe why, remember when we were all freaking out about the secondary coming off the 2023 season and the pass defense was ranked outside the top 100, and then watching the spring game, and then they would ask Sark about it, and Sark would be like, I'm not concerned. And we're like, what? You're not concerned. And then the theory that I kind of came with was that I think Nansen's got some stuff that is going to really help the pass rush and really help confuse opposing quarterbacks. So he's like, no, our guys will be just fine. They'll have an element they didn't have last year, and they'll be better than last year. And I think that's ultimately what kind of came to fruition. Now, the secondary was just really good, but those exotic elements to confusing and discombobulate opposing quarterbacks and to pump up the pressure, it worked really well, right? NASCAR package being one of the primary examples. So I think that's what they're going to keep, the exotics. And that's something that's not PK's MO. PK is usually a kind of just a bread and butter guy. Plays, vision zone coverage is very, fundamentally sound, and it's technically sound, right? You just kind of beat the guy in front of you. He's not trying to win schematically with exotic looks and exotic pressures, but I do think they're going to have more of that. They have so many unique athletes they're recruiting on defense, guys. They need more versatility and variety to maximize a big nickel with Jelani McDonald, NASCAR package with Colin Simmons. You need more variety so that you can maximize and weaponize these guys. I think that's what they're going to. Versatility and positionless, position flex and positionless football. They want to play more of that, I think, in the back seven.
All right. If you're just joining us, breaking news around 6:30 this evening, Duane Akina has been or will be part of the Texas coaching staff as the safeties coach at the University of Texas, we believe. He is that is going to happen. We don't know exactly when it'll be announced, et cetera, but multiple outlets now reporting Duane Akina headed back to the University of Texas after earlier today, Terry Joseph, the former Texas defensive back coach, a cornerbacks coach, took a job with the New Orleans Saints. Joseph becomes the third Texas assistant to leave this offseason, two of them to the NFL, Tashard Choice at running backs, along with Joseph to the Saints. Choice went to the Lions, and then Blake Gideon, the safeties coach, former player at the University of Texas, now the defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech. So that's the big update tonight that we're talking about here. Some more questions and topics. Chris Bennett, welcome back to the Godfather of DBU. That's Duane Akina. Absolutely.
Rob, you got to get him one of those hats, Rob. You got to get him one of those hats.
Yeah, you got to give him that.
Yeah. And we got to do a picture. I've been telling Coach Akina for years, we got to do a DB picture with all your DBs, man. We got to get everybody back in town and do a big one. Just all the Texas DBs, of course, and do a big one with all the guys. That's kind of going to be my goal. I'm going to try to organize that.
Let that snow.
Y'all need to go play a softball game. Bring the kids out.
Let us know. We'll live stream it. We'll live stream that.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be there. We'll be there with the Yangling. Jerry and I'll be there. We'll provide color commentary of that game for y'all. Do you guys view the Brendan Bowers the coaching changes upgrades or lateral moves? This is a fair question. I will say this: I don't think that you can say that they're downgrades. I'll put it that way. Mark Orfe and Duane Akina added to Kenoto Hudson. Look, I mean, I don't know what else you guys want. You got a guy that literally, we just quoted the stat, has coached 40 NFL defensive backs. He's not young enough. Oh, he's not. You don't know Duane Akina if that's your comment, in my opinion. Agreed. And so I don't know how much better you get, right? So I think overall it's been an upgrade, and I think that it also, and for me, this is very important. You're trying to manage a team, and Rod brought something up that I've tried to hit on. Sark wants some stability while he's building this. Mm-hmm. He's had that with PK, with Kyle Flood, with AJ Milwee, with Jeff Banks. He's trying to get it with Chris Jackson, right? With Kenny Baker and all these guys. Johnny Nansen brought somebody back that he'd worked with before and knew really well. I think that he's trying to build a solid keep a solid foundation and build upon. There's something to be said about that, because you don't want, I think that Nick Saban won despite this, but Nick Saban had times where he would lose 5, 6, 7 assistants a year.
Yeah.
That kind of churn, for lack of a better term, I think can be hurtful for a program. But, Nick Saban also had the best players. So it was a little bit different.
I want to say this. I think some people have asked about recruiting. I think he'll recruit Texas and tag team with the rest, and Nansen and those guys in California is where I think Arizona. I think he'll be another West Coast guy with Johnny Nansen, and recruit Texas as well.
Arizona's a gold mine too in recruiting though lately. I mean, we know from Bijan, but it's Arizona. Some of the big metros in Arizona blowing up.
If you look at
Santana Wilson, he gets a chance to coach him.
Yeah.
He offered him at Arizona, by the way.
Yeah. If you look at his resume, about 90% of the guys he signed were from California or Texas.
Yeah, that's historic for him.
Yeah,
he's done that since forever.
Yeah,
I think most of the guys he signed this year were from Texas, weren't they? At Arizona, almost all of them. Pretty sure. Signed quite a few. All right, we'll talk a little bit more here in a second, but also let's take this one real quick. Do y'all think having a coach and an assistant coach for positions is a little overkill? Too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe Sark has another use. This is from Jose Rodriguez. A lot of the assistant coaches, the backups, are young coaches that are just, you got to get your wings somehow, right? And so you're not the man you're in the cockpit, but you're not the man driving the plane. You're the one, setting the altimeter and getting everything going the right direction, but you're not guiding the plane. That's how assistant coaches work for DB coaches, in my opinion. You agree with that, Jerry and Rod? Yeah, well, you've been in that situation before, probably.
Yeah, it worked. It worked really well last year with them adding the nickel coach with Coach Hazelton. I think these days, because they allow you to, essentially have unlimited, staff, and you can hire who you want, it can only help you as long as as long as everybody respects the hierarchy. And I will say that's one thing that seems to be common among these coaches. Sark is looking at egos, and guys are willing to put their ego to the side for the greater cause, right? And I think that's a big part of it. So you got the right coaches who have a little, very small egos, right, and big aspirations. I think you'll be good. So everybody they'll fall in line because they want to learn from Coach Akina. So, Coach, if that's indeed how the hierarchy is going to be, if that's indeed how it's going to be delegated, we don't know that yet. But we have no idea.
Yeah, he's a tremendous coach, and I can't wait for his return to the University of Texas. Jerry, you have something for us? I see you kind of.
Texas women closed out Georgia 57-26, a really ugly game, about 40 turnovers combined, but Texas pulled away in the fourth quarter. I believe they outscored Georgia 23-4 in the fourth quarter for a 31-point win in a game where I think.
Wait, what was the score in the timeout? I was watching.
It was 2016 at halftime. I mean, it was a turnover fest. Both teams.
Georgia scored 10 points the entire second half.
Yeah, I mean, all hell, they only scored 26 in the game. But like the combined field goal percentage of the two teams is about 34. The combined turnovers were 41. It was an ugly game.
Gotta win ugly.
Texas, you got to win ugly. Texas won ugly, and so now they're 2 wins away from at least tying South Carolina for the regular season title. So being SEC co-champs.
57-26. I literally walked out of halftime, or walked from watching the game at halftime to this live stream. I was like, man, Georgia's giving them a game. They won by 31. I mean, that's called turning it on, dude. Come on. I thought, what was it, like a 4-point game at 6-point game at half, Jerry?
Yeah.
And they won by 31.
They're impressive.
Number one team, Jerry, you called this, I think David Rawls commented on this morning. First time, or last night, maybe it was, first time since 2004.
Yeah.
The Texas women's have been ranked number 1 in the country.
Yep.
That actually happened today.
Yes.
They actually became.
There's people are starting to talk about the Texas potential men's job opening. Somebody, TJ Johnson, said Jay Lucas, he's getting the Miami job, it looks like.
Yep. Hey, before we let go of everybody here, because it's got to come around in the top of the hour, and get to one final recruiting question for Jerry, I want to remind folks about Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute, and thank him for sponsoring On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes and non-athletes of all ages. Specializing in musculoskeletal health, Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000, and get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. That's 512-856-1000. Dr. Brett Robin in Austin, Georgetown, or Killeen. All right, Jerry, question for you here from Roger G. He's been peppering me with some recruiting questions. I'm going to get you this one. What does the linebacker big board look like? And there was another, I think it was Sam Utu's high school teammate at Orange Lutheran.
I think
add to the visit list, maybe.
Yeah, I think Tyler Atkins is probably at the top of that board, but and I think he'll probably officially visit Texas, be back in the spring. Obviously, it's charge choice is a big part of that recruitment, but Johnny Nansen, everybody, Kenny Baker, they're all part of that recruitment. So I suspect Tyler Atkinson will be back on campus again, and Texas has a real shot for an official visit there. And if they do, I think they'll continue to be very much in the mix of that decision. A lot of people think he'll head to Georgia. We'll see over time. Auburn, Notre Dame, Ohio State, they're all involved. Clemson. Family's originally from North Carolina, by the way. The Atkinsons, they moved, I think, when he's in middle school, early middle school, maybe sixth grade. Outside of that, look, I mean, there's, I think, 6 official visitors at linebacker. Kosiak Paula from Maid Creek. Tank King is a middle backer from Port Arthur Memorial. The Texas Tech commitment, Teeson Ijiwoko from Georgetown Eastview's an outside guy. Talanoa Ely is the kid from Orange Lutheran who's now coming in on June 13th for an official visit. So that Texas linebackers, I think there's about 8 guys. And Tyler Atkinson's teammate at Grayson, Anthony Davis, has been in that group too. We'll see if Texas makes any headway with Tristan Phillips, the really talented linebacker out of SoCal who's committed to Oregon. He told me a few weeks ago when Texas offered him that he wanted to get out and take a look at Texas. But we'll see if he follows through on that. But I had 6 official visitors right now. I do think Tyler Atkinson will eventually probably be a 7th official visitor to Texas, but we'll see. He's still got to schedule his visits. But they got a really talented group. Calvin Thomas, who they just recently offered out of Cy Ranch. He told me he's working on scheduling a Texas official in June. So they got a bunch of tall, long-limbed kids, man. The one guy who maybe is a different frame than some of the others is Tank King, who's more of an inside backer. He's about 6'1", 210. The other guys are more in that 6'2", 6'3", long, rangy guys that Johnny Nansen's been offering since he's been at Texas.
They can get after the passer and get into passing lanes, and arms can get off blocks too. All right, that's going to do it. Duane Akina, welcome back to the University of Texas. Rod B, I'm going to let you do a little on the way out. I'm going to let you say goodbye to folks tonight in your best Duane Akina impersonation. You guys have to go for it, Rod. You go for it, buddy.
Oh man, it's been a while. Okay, all right, guys, let's get back on top here, man. You're talking about the money makers here at DBU, and we're about to win a national title, man. That's what I'm talking about. All right,
there you go, Rod.
Now you sound like me now. You sound like me. That's not good.
Hey, you guys have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow tomorrow morning for coffee and football with myself, Jerry, and Blake Monroe. You guys have a good night. Hook 'em.